and they're just sitting home playing video games going, I wish my life was better. I wish I could do more. I wish I could get involved in stuff. They just go online and go, give me something that's going to be good for me. I mean, how does that happen?
Honestly, it becomes as simple as that. The best thing to do is to look something up, being able to be curious, do a little bit of research, and see if there's an event that might be displayed. You have to be able to have that open mind. If you walk downtown and don't want to talk to nobody, you'll walk past the opportunities right in front of you.
Okay, welcome to another edition of the Journey to Freedom podcast, where we talk about what it is, our journeys in order to get to this thing called freedom, knowing that this journey never ends, knowing that this journey is something that we continue. But we also look back at history and say that history leaves clues. You know, the things that we learned about and the giants that we were able to stand on and the people that have been part of our ancestry and our lives, and knowing that they sacrificed in many cases for us to be where we're at, and then to be able to take the journey that we have now and to be able to make something of it. You know, we tend to try to talk about five main pillars in this segment or this broadcast of the Journey of Freedom. We want to talk about health and how do we stay healthy. We want to talk about identity, who we are. We want to talk about faith and how that interacts, and our faith into our journey that we do. We want to talk about finances, something that we as Black men don't talk about all the time. We don't talk to each other about it. We don't talk to our friends about it. We don't talk, I guess that would be each other, right? We don't talk to our parents. We don't talk to our family. And we try to figure it out ourselves. And sometimes we watch videos and we say, I should do that, not knowing the context or if it works. And then, so we talk about, what I said, finance, health, faith, identity, and which one did I miss? One of those. Oh, trust. Talking about how we show up and be able to trust each other. And so today I have AJ Smith on with me today. And he works with youth and he works in the community, and he continues as he's on his journey to become successful. He embarks and tries to give, the youth that he works with some of those, tips on their journeys on what to do without taking away who they are. And I think that's been a lot of what has happened to many of us over the years is we lose our identity because we are trying to become somebody that maybe we're not, or become somebody that we think is successful, or become somebody that somebody else told us we needed to be. And it's so nice and refreshing to see people that are doing this and going through the work and going through the motions and keeping their identity of who they are, and yet making a difference and an impact in society. And AJ is one of those folks who is doing that. And so AJ, I'm going to, as we start our broadcast today, or our podcast today, would love for you to just kind of share about your upbringing, where you grew up, the person that you are as a result, maybe some mentors in your life that may have helped you become that person that you are. But we're going to let you start wherever you want. So if you want to start when you were a young kid and you're upgrown, you can there. You can start wherever you'd like. So you are on. Thank you again for being on the show today.
Yes, sir. Dr. B, thank you for having me. So I will start with my age. So I am 26 years old. I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I am the son of two parents. My mother, Karen Smith, she was from Washington, D.C. My dad, Aaron Smith, he is from Texas. And pretty much being raised in Denver, Colorado, on the east side part of the neighborhood, it was definitely a different experience as far as when I was growing up. So just the backstory as well, I have two older brothers. My oldest brother is 18 years older than me. And so with that, it's kind of been to where he always lived in Texas. And then my middle brother, he always was in Colorado, but he would be bouncing. He would travel, going back to Chicago. That's where he's from, stuff like that. So where everything kind of molded for me was how I was raised. I was always taught education is important. I was always taught that, no matter what, I want to be successful at what I do. And so that's what my parents instilled. I would do extra work when it was available as far as schoolwork as a young kid, different things like that to keep me motivated, but also keep me on that level of like, okay, like I got to be one step ahead. And so, really, as growing up as a young kid, I was able to understand a little bit about what life was like, but as well, more of like those adult things that were needed. So like money management, like I was given like, I was able to do something or earn some money or given money to where it was like I have to buy what I want, right? So that teaches you how the opening principle of how to manage money,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because in that relation for a kid, you gotta like say, okay, well, I gotta save up to get this toy instead of asking your parents to get it for you. Or a book, whatever the case might be. And then in reality, if it's just given to you, it's kind of given to you. You don't understand the process behind some things. So just simple things like that I was taught as a young kid. Around the age of 7 years old, my mom moved us to Washington, D.C. So I grew up partially there. In D.C. was very, I would say, culturally, it was culturally rich, but as well violently rough, I would say. There's a lot of different things. Stolen cars were the easiest thing that could happen to you. I remember staying with my grandfather. His car would get stolen multiple times throughout
Wow. Okay.
the time that I was there. So,
Mm.
and that was 2 years of me living in DC. I lived in Maryland, Annapolis, Maryland for a year. So, all of those things kind of made me to where I was learning how things are, how life is, and how you grow up as a kid, but also how adults might react to kids in those situations. So I always looked up to peers that were older than me because I always wanted to learn more and also just know more. I was very curious. So with that, once we moved back to Denver, I noticed that it was still Denver and I loved it, but things were kind of developing. So this is around 2010, where things started to change. The city became gentrified slowly after 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16. But I was able to know where I was from, but also see different elements of the gentrification happening. So I was here while all of those things happened. So I remember one of my parents' house, my dad's house, when that house got sold, um, basically it sold for 200,000. Now it's worth almost $1 million. So just having that relation and knowing, okay, what is value? What are things that like your family can or can't pass on to you, and what might be helpful for you to learn in the future, so that way you might not make the same mistakes that your parents did. So that's something that I've also learned growing up and living and experiencing different things. So I would say for me, I was very well at school, but it wasn't until my mom passed away. I was 12 years old. And so to where I kind of just started to not do well, not do such a great job. I finished middle school strong as far as grade wise. It was very simple. Again, I was ahead, I felt like, of most my age at that time. But when I got to high school, I went to I went to middle school at Whittier. And then when I got to high school, I went to a school called DSST, Denver School of Science and Technology, Stapleton at the time. So that was off of Montview and Valencia. So going there, it was very different. It was very diverse. It was definitely an experience in itself. I got to pretty much see people from all different aspects of life, people who might be coming from a different country to go to school. So they're taking this opportunity very serious. People who might have not been from a different country but might have a little bit more privilege.
Mhm.
People who don't have privilege at all, right? So doing these things, I was growing up and I was pretty much understanding, okay, like what is the goal of life? So in high school, pretty much I had to catch the bus every day from the east side to Denver, or not Denver, but Denver, Stapleton area at the time. So I'm learning how to essentially get from where I need to go. I'm managing time. I'm getting up 2-3 hours before I even have to get there because I have to be on time. There's no sense of, oh, you're late. Like, no, at that school, if you're late, you have to apologize to the whole community. And on top of that, you most likely get a refocus, which essentially is
Wow.
a system that
Mhm.
puts students at a disadvantage throughout that whole time. And so, not saying that it puts you at a disadvantage, but you learn that you shouldn't be at that disadvantage. So you simply can't be late. And so that was something that I took advantage of. I don't think I was ever late until my senior year, which is pretty good. Being a senior, you're a little
Uh-huh.
bit more
Yeah.
relaxed in the situation, but just learning these things, being disciplined in certain ways, I was able to understand those time values. And so during high school, I played sports. I played football. At DSSC, didn't have football team, so I played at Manual High School. That was my nearest team, and so I played football, and as well, I had played ultimate frisbee. And so after football, with all the concussion stuff, my grandma, who I was staying with at the time, pulled me out. So she said, "No, this isn't something you should be doing." And so I ended up finding a love in ultimate frisbee. A lot of people who are, I would say, black or who grew up in kind of the traditional basketball, baseball, football lanes, they might not understand ultimate frisbee. But essentially, when I played it at the school I was at, we were on a diverse team, so not everybody on the team was just white or just a specific ethnicity. We were all diverse in that way, so it was very welcoming for our team, and I was able to grow throughout the years with the team and become a captain. And the team leader because I was able to essentially understand the value of sports in that part. So throughout my whole high school tenure, I would love sports. I love talking about sports, football, basketball, sometimes even baseball. And so everyone would see me if they had a question. Even the teachers, they'd be like, "Hey, Aaron, what you think? Do you who's gonna win this Sunday?" And so, just a disclaimer: I love Denver teams. The only team I do not like is the Denver Broncos. And so my football team is the New England Patriots. So most people will kind of be like, what? Like how? Like why? Like doesn't make sense. But for me, it was all about how you handle yourself. And for me, just at the time, I didn't like the Broncos. I didn't feel like it was a very comfortable team for me. And just me mentally knowing this is a business, I didn't respect some of the decisions they were making at the time. I knew why they were making the decisions. Obviously, to win. Eventually, they did get a win, but I just felt like they could have done it a different way. So again, disclaimer: that is my team, the New England Patriots. I do respect the Broncos. I do know this is a professional business, and so moving on. Again, everyone would ask me about questions. Who do you think wins? Basketball, the same thing. I'm a huge LeBron fan, but again, I love the Nuggets as well. So just got to grow up seeing those different forms of greatness, as you would say. But it wasn't until I graduated to where I'm like, okay, like I'm graduating high school. What do I want to do with my life? I went to school for the first 2 years, thinking I would be an athletic trainer of some sorts. Again, I love sports, but not necessarily knowing what it takes to do that, but also, do I really love that part of sports? And so I do love sports. So I was like, okay, I had a reality check. I'm going to change my major. I ended up changing it to sports management. So my first 2 years, I went to MSU Denver, and I pretty much did all my regular prerequisite classes, getting everything out the way. Essentially, I came into contact with my mind where I was like, I don't really know if this is what I want to do, but I know that I need to go to school. And so I ended up going one last semester. I believe that was the 2019. Um, I think that was 2019 fall. But during that time, my dad had passed away. And so, with my dad passing away, I had to take what it's called an incomplete. And so, I had to pause everything that I was doing with school in order to kind of refocus myself. So, again, I'm in college. My grades aren't that great. I'm just passing, I'm just getting by. I don't know what's wrong with my motivation. I just know that I have to go. I gotta get this done, get it over with. So I ended up leaving school, not going, pretty much finished the incomplete, so I got all my credits done, and then I ended up taking a break. Well, in that situation, I believe this was my 21st birthday. COVID happened, so it's 2020, and we're looking at a whole pandemic. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that some of the things were probably going to change in my life. At the time, ever since I had went to from high school to college, I have been working at a place called Tokyo Joe's. My uncle got me the job, and so it was a great opportunity for me to, I guess you could say, practice some of the different things that I might do in life. So, being there, I was able to work. I went from a front of house rookie all the way to a sushi chef, and then pretty much a shift lead, which is pretty much the next step under either an assistant manager or manager. And so there, I was there for 3 years, almost 4 years. And so I learned many different things from many different people. There was a lot of people who were guiding me in those situations of just life, different relationships that I would have to where it's like, hey, you probably should do this instead of that. Or like, oh, like you don't do anything good because like you need to be like on task. People always ask me the question, do you smoke, do you drink? That was a huge no for me, just because like growing up I knew that I had control, and so if I know I have control, I know I can't be influenced by things that are going to take me off of my steps. So pretty much throughout that, people always encouraged me to do my best. They didn't influence me in a negative way. They were always like, okay, what can you do in a great situation? Like we're always gonna rely on you more than we you might actually expect. So I found myself in a lot of those situations of like, yo, like we really, really need you. And that's just in life, not even in the work situation. But COVID happens, I lose that job, and I'm at a standpoint of like, what should I do in my life? I'm hanging around people who are just, they always never had time or time to actually do what they were supposed to be anyway. So I was hanging around a bunch of people. In that part, I met some good people, met some bad people, lost some good people, lost some bad people. And so I've been able to learn those aspects of life and death. I've had family who's lost people, and it's just been a huge, I guess you could say, like turnover as far as to how my mindset might have went in the situation of like, okay, like you can have a regular job and not have a degree. So that's when I had taken it upon myself. It was 2021. I said I got to go back to school. I can't be outside just waiting for the next job to come to me, or in a situation like I'm always good with my mind, not my hands. So I'm very much cerebral in the process of getting things done rather than physically. I do love sports. I think sports were a great way to have that exercise for me, but I'm still a cerebral part in that person in that part. So I was like, okay, I got to go back to school. So I ended up changing my major. It was sport management that I went to school for. And I finally got my degree last winter in 2023. So I was able to finish strong with my bachelor's. And pretty much all my grades were A's and maybe a B or two. And so I think that mental switch had flipped for me as a kid, going from middle school to like, okay, this is actually serious. You need to figure out, you need to take control of whatever is going on school wise, because it's always going to translate business. So I graduated. At this time, I had pretty much I have a job I had a job in I believe it was 2021 at the probably tail end of 2021, 2022. I got a job offer to work with Make a Chess Move, a nonprofit organization in the community. The founder, Philip Douglas, he had came to me and was like, "Hey, Cuzzo, like, we got some programming going on." And as a youth, I had ended up being a part of this programming in
Okay.
2015. And so uh, it was something that had came back to me as far as having an opportunity. So in this situation, like I said, Philip Douglas, he is the founder. I did not know this until I was older, probably older teenager. So after I had worked with him the first time in 2015, but he ends up being my actual first cousin. So it was a cool, unique experience in that part. But he had extended the opportunity for me to come and work. And so I took in kind of an internship position. So it was low pay. It wasn't really, I guess you could say, guaranteed that, okay, I was going to get the job as far as just full time, anything like that, because it's a nonprofit. There's different elements when doing this business. And he was just getting off the ground as far as what we could reach. And so he said, "Hey, I would love for you to continue to work with us after the summer." He had extended it out to me. So I went from part time to full time, taking that leap with nothing to do, right? So originally I had nothing to do in the summer, and then I ended up essentially being able to leverage that part of working there and going to school. And so I'm like, okay, I finally graduate. And then after that, I was able to get pretty much the program coordinator position, in which is a position that essentially um, it's a lot of details around it, but essentially, I'm a part-time facilitator and program coordinator. So I'm setting up different meetings with schools, different organizations to see if we want to work together. I'm planning programs, helping people get their ideas on the paper and then into reality. And so that's a part of my job today. But just being able to have the opportunity, it took a faith from Phil to be able to be like, okay, like this is what I believe. I see that you can help as far as the organization as a whole. And then also having the faith in myself to be like, okay, this is what I need to do. Here's my switch. Now I flip this to this and it translates. So I was able to not go directly into my field right away, but essentially go into a different field as in a management position, right? It's still some type of management position, but being able to have those things translate into where I'm still being able to be put in a successful position, but also in a impactful position. So, just a brief explanation of Make a Chess Move. Our mission is to build a just society by developing tenacious learners, compassionate leaders, and ethically driven critical thinkers. So, with our mission, we're teaching youth how to think 3 steps ahead in life, using that chess translation to make these moves in life that they might not think of or they might not have known or even been able to get through originally. So, I would say everything is challenged by choice. What we do, we always challenge the youth that come to us, but also we want them to be able to make that choice and not be afraid to say, well, I'm not going to agree with that. Okay, that's fine. Did you think about why you don't agree with that rather just having a reaction? So we want things that are thought of more than reaction based. So that's what we do. We have about 14, 15 different programs. With each program, we call it Make a Chess Move, but we might swap the C out and maybe make a creative move. Or in a different position, it maybe make a catering move, make a culinary move. So we love to like swap that C out and give the youth the mind of their own to be where they're being able to be creative to say, hey, this is what we want out of the community as far as the organization when we're doing programming, different things like that. Because at the end of the day, it's a youth based program, so it's structured around youth and it's for the youth. So,
Nice. I love it. Thank you for sharing such a detailed story. It seems like there's been a lot of adversity you've gone through. You lost your mom and you lost your dad as well. How do you attribute your identity of who you become, and being able now to help others and not getting mixed up with the wrong crowds during the process? Were there other people that are around? What allowed you through the adversity you went through to come out where you're at?
I would say I would say the crowds, right? Not that I wasn't necessarily with or around people that might have not made the best decisions, but that I learned from them.
Okay.
I learned that that wasn't going to be successful in a tail end. I think the best thing is you learn how to keep a relationship from a distance. As far as whether it's a distance to where it's every week, you see that person every month, or maybe you see them for once every day for a month, and then you don't see them at all the next year, right? So there's different ways you can spend time with people who you love, or you might have a relationship with that is structured around more than just getting involved in the things they are doing, right? You got to be able to be a leader and not a follower. Sometimes people lead and follow. They might do the best thing, but then come off at the end of the stick on the other end. So it's all about knowing your environment. I think that's the best way I can describe it. Like I say, I love the east side of Denver. I've never been a part of gangs, none of that. I've lived in the east side. I've lived in Park Hill. I have family who um, pretty much might have been in the situations of both, right? So it's not that there's a right or wrong behind any of those things. It's more about just who they are and the relationship you build. Because at the end of the day, I built the relationship with them based off of how we grew up or how we might have saw things. If we had a specific love in sports, right? We love to talk about football, and that's what we love to do. Don't go around that. Sometimes you might intermingle in different things, but besides that, it's all about what you set your boundaries as. And so I think I've done a decent job with setting my boundaries. As well, I think them as well. They understand like um what I do, but also how I represent myself. And so I think for the most part, even if it's a bigger brother or somebody in the community, they always want me to do well,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're not in the best position. And so I appreciate that from them, because that could easily be flipped to where there's hatred towards it, but it's always been love. And so I appreciate that.
Cool. You are, I mean, you said you're 26 years old. So I'm not talking to the person saying, this is what I've done with my life. I'm talking to the person who, this is my dreams. This is my aspirations. This is what I would like to do with my life. Maybe you can kind of share with us some of your goals and your dreams and things you would like to do. And then maybe like in your mind, three keys or three things that maybe you learn from experience or learn from watching other people, but three things you think you'll need to do in order to achieve some of those goals and dreams that you have for yourself.
Okay, so I would definitely say um, some of the goals that I do have, I do want a family, and so that would be definitely one of my top goals as well. I just want to be successful. My grandfather, who lived in DC, he always told me, like, no matter what anybody asks or tells you, you want to be a successful businessman. And so in reality, a lot of those things are true, especially with the world and the state that we live in today. Things are expensive. You cannot just live off of, excuse me, you cannot just live off of a simple one income as far as a lot of people go. It's not comfortable to go to work as far as 60 hours a week, and then your relationships are failing. You're not having energy or time for the people who you're around, your significant other, your intimacy with the friends that you have. You don't get to hang out with them as much because you're always working. You're always trying to provide. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
not on the end of that working sick, then you're probably doing something wrong as far as not being a great influence. You might be uh, just treating people badly, and then there's different elements behind that. I don't want to really touch too much as far as what those negatives could be, but as far as the positives go, I think me being successful is a great thing. I think as well, just being able to help others as well. I think that's a huge thing. I love like the people that are around me, and no matter what, if they take anything from what I might say, do, or interact, I would say I want them to be able to say that I did give them that set example to actually believe in what they might think of doing. And so I always get people, cousins, family, whatever the case might be, who are even older than me to say, yo, I actually look up to you because you do the things that I wish I could have done, or you do the things and you learn from the mistakes that they might have, not thought of in that lanes of thinking a couple steps ahead. And so I would say, did you say three things that,
Yeah, and I'll ask before you do that because you brought up something that I want to follow up on. You talk about being successful. You want to be successful. Define success to me in the terms from your perspective. What do you think it takes to be where you could say I was successful? What does that mean?
I, I think that's a great question. So whenever you think of success, I think it gives you that idea of like, oh, that person's successful because they're wearing a suit. When in reality, it's not the case. You might think that person's successful because they have a lot of money. In reality, that's not the case. I think at the end of the day, we all have how they say salary. You always have a living salary, right? So whatever your money and you make is what you're gonna spend and end up living like. And so a lot of the times, I think success is gonna be based on how well you can treat others, how well you can interact with people, and being able to put a light on the day when nobody actually might see a light. I think a lot of the times we think of success as those materialistic or simplistic things, but it could really be just being successful at what you do. Being able to be consistent, I think, is a huge thing. If you're not consistent, then you're not showing that example of being successful because you're bouncing around from different things. And so I think consistency has a part to do with it, but also just taking care of the things that you have to do. If your kids are fed, people fed around you, everybody's for the most part happy, and you're able to enjoy life day to day. As far as, yeah, things will happen. You're not gonna have a perfect life. Not every day is gonna be the best, but if you're able to go throughout life and think positively and stay on that right task of, okay, like I am setting that part of doing what I need to do, but also helping the people that are around me, making sure that they're good, and even you get help from people. Like I think it's great to like also listen to people. Like if you're not a great listener, then you're just being looked at as somebody that you're trying to, I guess you could say, set the part of being fearful. Like you can't be a leader can't be feared. A leader has to be able to interact with the people around them and know that like this is everybody's world at the end of the day. So
Gotcha. No, I like that. So you're having there that you want to have a family, you want to be successful. Um, when you think of your age and technology and access to information, and when you think of who inspires you, who the people that you would let be mentors, the people that you would let influence your mind, that moves you to your identity hasn't all been totally created yet. Where do you find that? Where do you find the balance of knowing what is okay to fill my mind with, what is not okay to fill my mind with? How do you discern that or decipher that?
I would definitely say that, for the most part, the best thing you could do is essentially keep your mind open, because once your mind closes on a specific thing, you get stuck in that specific area. So I would say people who are around me, I love my brothers. They inspire me in different ways. They always are motivating me, but as well, they're setting the example for me as far as what I could potentially do for myself in the future. And so those are like that's kind of like that base level of like, okay, who inspires me as far as to live or even to look at different things and how to interact with people. I would say going next professionally in a way, I would say that the people who I'm around professionally, I definitely think that the two people who I work with, Philip and another fella, Trust, he's definitely been just great models as far as just business wise, but also being able to like say like, yo, like this is what you do and this is how you potentially become a leader. Because at the end of the day, those are the people that I'm around. I have to be able to take something from them. If anything, take the part that like, hey, you got to be able to be a leader, but also be a black man in business. And so that's kind of for them. They would be as far as business and just kind of on that journey level. James Douglas, he's also a cousin. He's very much a mentor to me in a professional, but also a mental awareness space. He's always thinking for me to dream big. He always wants the best out of me, and so he's gonna keep. He's always been able to keep my mind to that next level, bigger picture idea. Because at the end of the day, if you don't dream big, then your dreams become smaller, and then when you have goals, if you have a big goal to essentially accomplish, then even if you don't succeed on that goal, you had a lot of good steps towards that huge goal. You got a small goal, then you might complete it and then just mess the rest of your time around. So just having big dreams as well has been able to put me in a mindset of like, okay, these are the things that I need to do versus what might come from the situations that I put myself in. So I would say those are the people that on the day-to-day basis inspire me. I love listening. I came from that, like you said, I'm 26 years old. I came from that era of like media, and so there's a lot of different influencers, stuff like that that I've always looked at. I love sports. One of my favorite players is Cam Newton. Just to as far as being able to be different from the crowd, right? Cam Newton hasn't always been the same as most people. He hasn't always made the best decisions, but he's been able to consistently get past those things, and so I think that's a huge component. I am a believer in God, and so I do believe that God steers me in the right directions to be able to make these choices. And so just being able to know that God always has my back as well is a huge thing. And then even, I mean, I would definitely say just watching sports again. LeBron is a businessman. You see LeBron moving on and off the court, but as well, he just got his son. His son was able to do the steps to get drafted, but as well, he was also able to influence that part of having his son drafted. So now, not only does that dream become an actual reality, but essentially being able to be consistent for so many years, like is crazy. Like he's averaging the same numbers year one as in year 20. And so just being able to look at people in those roles as far as they might not be next to you, but there's an example that you can learn from, whether it's being successful in their sport or even, like I said, with Cam, he's not even in the sport anymore, but he's around doing different things business wise. So there's different ways to look at those.
That's
But
cool.
those are the people.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you're saying because I'm impressed that you know some of the things that are off the court than on the court because I have so many people that, and I know you can attest this, but that I've had friends that grow up and um, they say, well, my team is, and they're devastated when the team loses, and they're excited when the team wins, and during my time, there would even be riots if it didn't happen in the way that they wanted, and I had to remind them that they weren't on the team, that they weren't players on the team, but they could watch it. They would get up and they would put the name of whoever it was on their back, and they would join, and they lived their lives through the persona of the players that had no clue who they were, would never know who they were, would never, and say, well, what are you doing for your own life? What are you doing for the steps that you're taking to move yourself forward? Because, you can't live Kobe's life. Kobe lives his own life. You can tell me all about him, but what does he do as a businessman, or a Magic, or Michael Jordan, or some of these guys that have become these moguls outside of the court because of the person they are? Are you studying that person that they are? And it sounds like you are that person who does that. You're not just into, hey, they're great at the craft that they have, that they've been able to do, which I love. Is there, if we move into money and stuff, you talked about a family and you talk about seeing successful. Is there a goal as far as income, or like ownership of homes or anything like that? When you think about money and you think about who's taught you about money and how money interacts in your life, what are some things that you could say that are you're either aspiring to, or things that you've been able to do real well in order to make sure that you understand this thing called money and finances?
I think the biggest thing is being able to know how to budget. That's the biggest thing. I think if you're able to budget what you have and what you don't have, you're able to know what you can do with what you have. And so, if again, like I was saying, if I make $1 million a year, but I spend $1 million a year, and I'm not investing in anything that's going to better myself or better the people around me, then it's really just the same as I made 100K a year and I was doing the same exact thing. So it's all about how you could make those investments in the things that you might want to do. So I would say definitely, with me in the current position that I am in, again, I work at Make a Chess Move. I'm a program coordinator. I would love to move up, being able to, have a different position, being able to do more things or help more people in a different way. And so there, I would love to do that. In addition, I would love to also start my own business, or pour into that business with that, to be able to say that, hey, like, I'm passionate about sports. I would love to build a business that's catered around sports, but also the aspects of how we could carry ourselves, how we could pretty much run ourselves in that professional manner. So I would definitely say just also being able to do business. I am pretty much in that realm of like starting these things, and so being able to say, okay, this is what it's going to take. Okay, these are my next steps. I've graduated. Now what's next for me, right? Because if I again stay in that place, I'm working every single day, that's fine, right? But essentially we want to be able to make sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position if we can. And so I would say my own personal business would be the next thing.
Okay.
Excuse me. I would say that as well. There's a couple of different things that I always end up doing, as far as just partnering. I'm an entrepreneur, so like I've been able to like do different things like sell T-shirts and merchandise. I feel like in a way I'm my own entity. So just being an artist, being able to express myself in different lanes, being able to represent myself in public spaces. Because now I'm in a position where not only am I representing myself as like myself, right? But I'm also representing myself as Make a Chess Move. So there's two different representations that I have to hold when I'm out in public. It's definitely a thing that I don't take lightly. I definitely appreciate having those things, because at the end of the day, if I'm able to leverage those things, then I'm able to share more with everybody else.
Gotcha. When you think about home ownership, are you a homeowner yet? Are you
I am
thriving?
not a homeowner. I would love to own a home. I would say if I ever, not saying if I ever own a home, but the goal for me owning a home would be like buying the home, not
Okay.
just
Yeah.
getting the loan on the home. And so that would be my big goal, as
Okay.
far as home ownership.
Well, and the reason I ask, because there's so many 26-year-olds who aren't thinking in that way, and thinking, one of the greatest financial tools that's available is to start that process in home ownership. And there's so many programs and things that are out there now that would help with down payment assistance and all these other things. And just want to make sure you're going down that road of figuring out, okay, if this is a goal, then let's put a time and date to it, like you said about big goals and being able to do it, and then let's make it happen, because there's so many people that believe they can't have it. And
Yeah.
I don't see that as you can. It's just something that it hasn't come about yet, because I don't expect a lot of 26-year-olds to own homes. But at the same time, when you start thinking about, black wealth, or you start thinking about, one of the best ways to start creating black wealth would be home ownership. You said you're an entrepreneur, ways to be able to do that. So I think that's exciting, to think in that realm. If I pivot a little bit, what health wise, what do you do to remain healthy, to keep yourself not only physically healthy, but mentally healthy at the same time?
Biggest thing I love, again, I love sports. Always, if I'm able to, I had a couple injuries the past year or two. But if I'm able to, I love to hit the court, play some basketball, play some pickup, just joining different things around the town, whether it's being active. Again, I work with kids, so not all the time am I just sitting there teaching, but as well, we're getting a little active outside or something like that. So just being able to do those things help me as well. Music's a great outlet for me. I love to listen to music. I love to make music, whatever the case might be in that part. I've always enjoyed having that as an outlet, and as well, just different forms of life content. I don't have I'm not a huge person with the TikTok. I know a lot of the kids are, but I definitely, again, consume a lot of media that might be beneficial, as far as if it's just some motivational speeches, if it's some funny moments, different things like that. I love video games. I definitely do my hand in that part of being able to take some personal time, play some video games, put my mind from where I'm at into that video game. So just those different things are kind of the biggest things that help me as far as on a personal level. And then physically, again, I love to work out when I can. I love to go on walks. Just those small things do matter, I feel like.
Mhm. Oh, they absolutely do. That help you mentally and everything else as well, right? As far
Yeah.
as keeping your mind fresh. I know you participate in some community groups and some things around the community to keep your mind sharp, like the barbershop, experience that you guys have. How did you find that and get involved in something that you could go to, often, in order to have better associations, to have mentors, to have people that can talk about some of the, I guess, the things that are going on in our society that can make us better? Talk to me about how does somebody that's your age get involved and find that kind of stuff?
So with me, I keep my mind open. I'm very curious, and so working at Make a Chess Move, my supervisor Demetrius Jenkins, trust, he was like, hey, uh I would love for you to come to this group. We'll be hosting this at the Center for African American Health. And so I was like, okay, let me give it a shot. And so I came, and ended up being a great part as far as what we do, what we're being able to talk about, being able to discuss in these situations, being able to have the outlets that the Center for African American Health do give. They give different things like therapy, to where you're able to get sourced out to be able to get to a therapist if you need a therapist. These smaller things that we might not have access to kind of open up when you take that small chance to go into an event for one day, right? Somebody invites you to something, they think it might be beneficial. Okay, well, they're not telling me to go downtown to the club and do this for one night. No, they're telling me to actually go somewhere that's going to be able to say, okay, like maybe you meet somebody that has already experienced some stuff you experienced. Maybe they might be able to help give you some advice, right? It might be that, or maybe you go there and you get a little bit of food in your stomach, and then you're able to computate and discuss these things and vent. Maybe you're going through something at the time, so now you're able to vent and feel comfortable in the lane to vent to people. And so I definitely believe just my curiosity alone gives me that part, because as a kid as well, I went to different groups. Uh, like when we had to essentially make some money and we weren't exactly 15, 16 years old, I went to youth biz. I went to, at the time, Make a Chess Move was just starting. I was able to do that program. I had been a part of Earth Force. There was a program that we used to do. It was called Boys Night Out. It was created by one of the baseball coach. He was the head baseball coach at Manual, Herb Sanders. So he had invited me to that one day. I ended up going to that. He's the reason why I ended up playing sports in the first place. If I never meet him and he never tells me to go try out for football, I never end up playing sports, right? So then I'm on a whole different trajectory and path. So just being able to take small leaps, and even if you don't like something, you gotta try it. I think that's the best advice I could give somebody. If you don't like something, or if you're not necessarily, you don't have your heart full in it, try it. See what you actually do like. See if you can essentially stay in that realm of either people talking about their feelings, or about different topics that might be hard to discuss in a different space. So I think that's been my biggest learning. Just trying something is the biggest thing. If you don't try, then you never know.
So for somebody who's sitting around, like they're watching our thing. Somehow they stumbled across this and they're listening to us. How do they get involved in the African, American Studies for Health, or the places that you've been able to take advantage of, that nobody invited them. There wasn't a coworker at work that said, "Hey, this would be a good thing for you to get involved in." They're just sitting home playing video games, going, "I wish my life was better. I wish I could do more. I wish I could get involved in stuff." How do they find stuff? Or do they just go online and go, "Give me something that's going to be good for me"? I mean, how does that happen?
Yeah. So honestly, it becomes as simple as that.
Okay.
To say in a nutshell, if I was a person and I didn't really know my community, maybe let's say I just moved here from Louisiana or something, and I'm trying to get involved community based. I think the best thing to do is to look something up, being able to be curious, do a little bit of research, and see if there's an event that might be displayed. The Center
Okay.
for African American Health, they do events. And so they might be at the Juneteenth event, right? And so you might get more information there. You might go to the Taste of Colorado, whatever different events that the city hosts. Representatives usually show up to. Working at Make a Chess Move, we do events to where we might host an event, we might participate in somebody else's event as a partner, and so there's always the opportunity to go out to the community, whether it's downtown, go walking, different things. You have to be able to have that open mind. If you walk downtown and don't want to talk to nobody, you might eventually stumble across somebody, right? You might eventually, somebody might say, "How you doing today?" But most of the time, you'll walk past the opportunities right in front of you. You might live right there in one of those apartments every single day, and you mind your business, but it happens to be something going down, and you take that curious step to go and see what it is. You might meet somebody that changes your life. It's that simple. So taking that next step in that just open opportunity, I would say, would be the one thing. But also, again, we live in a day and age where internet's prominent. If you're seeing this video, you probably are able to search on the internet, look up some things that might be an assistant. We got AI now, so you go to your phone and say, "Hey Siri, hey Google," whatever the case might be. Connect me with an event that's near me. Boom. So
Nice.
those simple things I think is the biggest thing, to where it's like, okay, dang, that was a huge change in like how I was living my life, or how I was seeing life. Or you might meet somebody that essentially, it just, maybe it's your significant other, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what the case might be. I think just that small curiosity helps you be able to control how your life might be.
That's really cool. And I love that. Get on the AI and say, "Hey, I'm lonely. I want some stuff to do. I want some positive people. Where can I go?" boom, it's going to give you a whole bunch of ideas that you can at least go and check out and try. Because if you're sitting home waiting for somebody to knock on your door and say, hey, do you want to come be successful with me? It's probably not going to happen, right? You're going to have to do something in your life, but then take on some of the, personas that you said, some of the things about, okay, I need to get involved. I need to find the right people. I need to, express myself. I need to be out there. So I definitely appreciate that. In the next few minutes that we have, because we've been talking, and it's been really, I've been very blessed to be able to have this conversation with you. What are maybe something that I didn't get to talk about that you wanted to make sure that everybody knows, or something that you're passionate and excited about that you want everybody to know, or just something you just want to share that may be of help to anybody? Is there anything like that that you would love to finish our conversation with?
I think what I will say is definitely I love to play chess. Again, I work with Make Chess Moves, so if you're able to come to an event, if you're in Denver, I would love to play you in chess. See where your chess game is, see where mine is. I'm not the best chess player in the world, but I will say that I love to play. I love to be able. I think chess is a huge thing that you can tell a person's personality by just playing them. Once you play 5, 10 games, so you're able to definitely see how people move in their life, how people might react to certain things. Also, just playing chess. So I would say that would be probably the first thing. Just interact with us as far as Make a Chess Move is concerned. If you want to look us up, makeachessmove.org. That's the connect with that. And so, in addition to that, though, I would say just kind of going back a little bit. If you ever go to a public library, anything like that, those are great ways to interact with your community. Rec centers, those are all good ways. I'm just thinking of those now. But as well, for myself, I would say, for the most part, again, I'm very upfront, honest, genuine. As far as if you ask me a question, I'll definitely answer it. If there's anybody out there that ever wants to talk to me, meet me, whatever the case might be, you can definitely find me. If you look me up, social media is 11AJ, but you have to spell the 11 out, E1 instead of an L, and then EVENAJ. If you search that up, you'll find me. And so just being able to also uh, reach out to me if you want to reach out to me, whatever the case might be. I'm definitely open to positive conversation. And so that's my role as a person in the community, is to do these things as well. Also, again, in no way I'm doing this interview. Am I perfect? I love to talk about sports. I definitely talk trash. Again, and so like different things like that. I'm very competitive, and so even if it's like some simple sports talk, I know people might want to hit me up and be like, "Hey, what you think about this?" That might be a little bit of a lane of something, but in reality, I would just say, just closing words, just take that next step. If you haven't already, take that next step. Be able to essentially take a chance on something that you might not have known could change your life. Because if you do that, then cool, right? If you don't do it, hey, you might not know, something might fall into your laps.
Love it.
But as long as we take those next steps, we're able to essentially be able to put motion into the next phase of our life. So
Oh, absolutely. And then I just, I just want to thank you for being open today, for being vulnerable today, for sharing who you are, because uh, if success leaves clues, and somebody has a mindset that is going to make them successful, you're one of those people who does. You have thought through the process. You have thought through, this is where I'm at now. This is where I want to go. These are the people that I need in my life to be able to do that. You've aligned yourself with mentors. One of the things that I spend my life's work now is helping people from knowing and get to doing. We know what to do. We just don't do it because we don't know how to do it in many cases. And I can tell you're one of those people who absolutely is doing what it takes to be able to achieve. And And I hope as people watch this, they see that inspiration. They contact you, they work through you. Community groups and being in places where people are succeeding is where you want to spend your time. You don't want to spend your time where people are failing or people are, like you said, just out and about doing stuff, metastasizing themselves or, with alcohol and drugs and that kind of stuff because they don't like their lives. You're saying, no, there's this great life to be lived and there's ways to go about it. And there's some things and structures to put in your place to be able to do it. So I thank you for allowing me to interview you, for being part of the Journey to Freedom experience. I know you'll be an inspiration. I want to come back later. Let's come back in a year. Let's come back in 2 years. Let's do some stuff together. I'm going to take a group of people in February down to Birmingham, Alabama. We're going to do a civil rights tour and then talk about the emancipation theater and a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to allow us to really say, how do I get in community and groups with people, knowing what's happened in the past and moving forward? And so hopefully you or we can invite some other people to go along with it. With this, we're just going to just be this fun opportunity to see if you've never been there. Going to the Bryan Stevenson Equal Justice Museum and, finding out, okay, this is how it was. This is how we are. This is how it gets to be because of folks like you who are around. So thank you for that. Thank you for having and being part of another episode of the Journey to Freedom experience and the podcast. And we look forward to another one. So I hope you get in, you subscribe to these, you get on, you watch the ones that will help you move your life forward. Again, AJ, thank you for being on, and we'll look forward to talking to each of you very soon. And you guys have an amazing, awesome, wonderful, incredible day today. And we'll talk to you later.
All right.